Vision Communications Incorporated is not responsible for the validity or accuracy of information presented on this program. Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Sergey Shealy-Sorin. To be a part of the show, call 417-447-1777. Wellness Wednesday. Now, Dr. Sergey Shealy-Sorin.
And hello. Today, I have another awesome, amazing guest. And the music is almost better. Yeah. Beautiful. I do like the music, by the way. It's nice. I have with me today a very special and important guest. Let's introduce Mr. Matt Adams Buckley. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic today. It's a pleasure to be here, Dr. Sergey.
It is a pleasure to have you. Let's talk about Matt and what who he is. Well, he's a human being. That's first and foremost, and he's an amazing human. But he's also plays a huge role in the Shealy-Sorin Wellness. Not only is Matt a lead coach and is helping us to develop coach training for those who are interested in the holistic experience and in helping others achieve holistic experience, but basically everything that has to do with any amazing content and getting up online, YouTube, social media, Facebook, and everything that has to do with technology. We wouldn't have it if it wasn't for Matt. So thank you.
I really appreciate those words, Doc. And, I just have to say I'm honored to be on the radio today. I'm honored to be partaking in spreading this message of love, light, and wellness and health, mind, body, spirit. Our goal was to reach 1 million people this year. And that's it. We want to bring this news to the world that there's therapies out there that you can get better. You can get better with, and it's a true passion of mine.
And from the very first time I met Matt, I just knew he was the right guy. And it had to do with the upbringing. It has to do with your perspective. I mean, we talk about the holism, the spirit, soul, mind, body, not the mind, body, spirit. And you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
For anyone out there who has heard the term mind, body, spirit, and you're not sure what I'm talking about, mind, body, spirit is an integrative concept, a technique where you focus on the mind, which is important. Of course, that's the driver. That's that's what leads to everything physical. And then there is physical, which includes lifestyle. It includes things that happen inside the body and with the body. And that's where modern medicine is pretty much stuck and focused on the physical manifestations, physical body, and dealing with that one layer. But there's a complete disconnect between that and the thing that controls it from the get-go. In other words, the physical body, whatever is happening on that level, is nothing without the content and direction from the brain bucket right here. And so my question to you, and my question to anyone who is interested in gaining their health back, is who is actually truly in control of this brain bucket? Are you, or is the environment? Because I'm going to tell you, this year, we're going to see even more things than the previous year. And I see this already very apparent from working in the emergency room, from seeing the world around us. And if you think that things are going to get easier in terms of stress, in terms of what's going on out there, you know what? I've got bad news for you. The world around us is not going to get any easier, any better. I look forward to 2022, but from what I've seen, you have to prepare yourself and you have to optimize yourself so that you're not dependent on the matrix, the failing matrix of the healthcare system, which only knows one layer of reality, physical illness. You don't have the luxury of doing so because right now, and I'll digress here. Speaking of the physical, I mean, I just want to stay on that layer. I had the last Matt. It's kind of crazy. I talked to you a little bit about that, but I want to share with all our listeners. Every weekend, every 2 weeks that I show up in the emergency room, there is a whole new set of protocols, procedures. And by the way, I do love our little hospital. I call it little because it's not a big major chain and it's still independent. So the decisions that are made are still made on a local level with with as much common sense as possible, because people there do have some common sense, but they're also being directed and driven. And there's an expression, I'm not sure I'll be able to say it on the radio, but when somebody's got you by the balls, so to speak, there is. Am I still okay on the radio? Okay, thanks, Rob. So when the government has a healthcare system by what I mentioned under full control. And so now they are controlling which hospital gets what, and this now includes things like, therapies available for certain viral and other issues. And I'm not because we want to stay on the air, and because there are certain topics that are best off not discussed in public. Again, if we want to stay clear and continue delivering the great amazing content, I'll simply focus on the fact that what I mentioned about the matrix of the healthcare system already failed, and not dependable. In other words, you can't afford to put all your faith and trust in what we have right now. It has already fallen, and it doesn't exist practically. It's a remnant of something that's already dead. And I'm not sure how many other ways I can say it, but people have got to wake up and realize that you have to take charge of your life. And this is why we're talking about coaching, and that's why we're talking about all of these things, because it's no longer optional. It was never optional to begin with, but at this point, we have to have responsibility, capacity to take charge and outcomes of our lives by taking certain actions. Feel free to jump in. Yeah, accountability.
That's one of the biggest things a coach is there for, right? Accountability.
So let's talk about, and of course, there's no talking about holistic, if we don't address the biggest factor behind who you are. In other words, remembering who you are, the spirit and the soul. Because if you remember that you're the spirit and the soul, that aspect of you can never be subjugated. That aspect of you is free. That no one can control that. That's for you to control, and that's for you to keep or for you to give away. If you want to keep the power and the control, I'm not saying control in that in a way that control everything obsessive compulsive, but you've got your life. You're a sacred being. You're made in the image and likeness of God, and you have the same creative capacity and potential. So whether we create the lives that we want, or whether we follow patterns set by society or otherwise, well, that's a choice. That's a personal choice. And giving away the power or getting back the power is something that we have to decide. So now, without further ado, Matt, I know you got a million things to say, so let's jump into it and we'll kind of go back and forth.
Yeah. So, onto the coaching. Beautiful words there, specifically about the spirit and the mind side, right? The side that's most neglected by most people, with mind, body, spirit. So today's topic, you need a coach. You need a coach today. And guess what? We can be your coach. We already are your coach. Just by sitting here listening to us now and joining us on the radio, we are your coach. The beautiful part is we can be your coach every single Wednesday. Every Wednesday you have a coach right here that's going to come live into your home and give you some of the best information that you can find anywhere in the world. There's no better information in the world than what's sitting right here. Okay. As your coach right now at this moment, I ask you, what did you do for your top three today? For your mind, your body, and your spirit? What did you do for those three? Did you do anything for them today? Mm-hmm. And as your coach, as coaches, we hold people accountable. We help you take those steps so you make it a daily occurrence where every single day you are doing something for your mind, your body, and your spirit. So I ask you today, what did you do for your mind, your body, and your spirit? And I'd like for everybody, if you are listening and you're thinking about getting a coach, or you want to be coached, you want to get healthier, you want to be in peak performance, after the show, take out a piece of paper and write down so far up until the moment when you're writing on that paper, write down what did you do for mind, body, and spirit today. And if you didn't do anything for any of them, if you didn't do anything for one of them, two of them, make sure you write that note down. Write it in a journal. Keep it logged. Start doing that daily. That's an easy, accountable way. And then share that with your coach. Share that with a coach, even as another family member. It is a great way to start holding accountable and actually taking those action steps to make sure we're heading in the direction of positive health change of wellness, of creating that life we're after.
Let's talk about the process of creating a life. What does it take to create the life that you want? If I ask anybody, any individual, if I ask Matt, what do you want to accomplish in life? Matt might give me a number of objectives. In other words, get healthy, just be my genuine self. And there's a number of other things, fulfilling my life's purpose. But how do you even get there if you don't know where you are right now? This is where you have to start. You have to start with the accountability and just basic understanding of your current situation. You also have to have an understanding of what it is that truly matters to you. And sometimes it's kind of confusing in our world to see what is important, because everywhere, from every direction, from the media, from the social media, from the families, from all sorts of authorities, I'll say authorities, external figures, telling you what to do, what to think, how to think, Let's take the medical establishment, the system, for example. I'm a doctor in the emergency room. When I come in, when a person comes in, I literally have just a couple of minutes to say hello, and then and that's it. And then I have to make a decision plan, and then I'll give you the plan. And then if you follow that plan, then that's good. If you don't follow the plan, too bad. But what do you become in that situation? You become a patient. I really hate that word with passion. I mean, I was in the hospital myself, and I was not a patient. I was an impatient patient because I wanted to get better, and I didn't want to follow the systems and the recommended timeline and so on and so forth. According to the system, I'm supposed to be at this point reaching where I was at 6 weeks post-surgical. And I was nearly paralyzed, basically. And there's many, many other examples, but it's not just physical, depression, anxiety, so many other factors. If you are truly relying on the healthcare system and you go to your doctor, they give you a so-called clean bill of health. In other words, or a checkup. Hey, I'm okay. Anybody ever gotten that? Matt, you remember your doctor telling you something like that? Yep, you're good this year. Come back next year.
Maybe when I was a kid, but since then.
Right. So how many people are actually thinking that that's wellness? See, that's the biggest misconception and confusion. We talked, one of the previous episodes we had was on the matrix of the healthcare system, or the concept of the illusion of what we think we have, and in reality, it's really not what it is. What it is an external way of dealing with emergencies. And now that the system is falling apart, even those emergencies are not going to be handled, because you can't get into the primary care, you can't get into the specialists. And even those hospitals, I worked in a number of emergency rooms where the wait times were like 3-4 hours, and I thought it was terrible at that time. Now it's standard to have 10-12 hours of wait time. And so by the time you get there, frankly speaking, I'll tell you honestly, if a person is still alive and breathing, chances are they don't need to be there to begin with, if that's the case, because they're going to be all right. They're going to be alive. Now, I'm not saying to leave and go somewhere else or to go home, but by that time, if there's something bad was going to happen, chances are bad things are already happening. So don't rely on the healthcare system as it is. So without relying on external sources, what is your best ally? What is the one thing that will get the results that you need? And we can talk about all sorts of stuff. We can talk about health. We can talk about wellness. We can talk about even the fact that most of us have made New Year resolutions. And how many New Year resolutions are we actually keeping? Because now the month is going by. So I'm going to ask you, for those of us who said, I'm going to start exercising, I'm going to start, I'm going to go on a diet, I'm going to lose some weight, I'm going to work on my stress. How many people have followed through on that premise? And again, just raise your hand or just think about it in your mind. And if you have, congratulations, that's fantastic. And if you achieved what you want, if you haven't achieved what you want, or if the plan is not going according to the plan, why? And this is some of the factors. So how does a person achieve and accomplish something that is long-standing and of tremendous value? The answer is it takes time. If a person discipline, thank you. And we talk about timelines. It takes 2 to 3 months to establish a habit. So if you haven't exercised, or you were exercising before, you're not doing it now, get back into it. But it's not going to be the easiest thing. And the next day you have to tell yourself, if that's what you want to do, you have to put it on the schedule. You have to plan it. You have to make it happen. Just using exercise as an example, because it's one of the big ones.
That's the biggest for
That's
body,
the biggest
right?
for a lot of people, yeah. It takes up to 6 months to solidify that habit. It takes up to a year to gain a lifestyle. What does lifestyle means? Let's say, Matt, if you have a certain lifestyle that, let's say you eat right, you exercise, you sleep, you take care of yourself, and you make sure that whatever happens, you balance yourself. Now, something happens. Life throws something your way. It can throw you off kilter for a little bit, but guess what? You're going to come right on back. You're going to literally just jump back in and say, okay, well, that was a little detour. I need to get back to my roots. It's not going to feel right without exercise. Dr. Shealy, and by the way, he is not able to join us on the radio. I know a lot of people are asking about his health, how he's doing. I'll give you a quick update. He is not doing as well as I would like him to. And, my goal is to have him on the radio as soon as possible, but he is not in condition to do so. He's still, he's getting some therapies in the clinic, some intravenous vitamin C and a few other things, but folks, things are not as good as they could be. So please, 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 if you can, or if you want to, or if you desire, your intention, the energy, your prayer is very important. Please send love, healing, and prayer for Dr. Shealy's recovery. And so whatever is best for his health, for what he's being, it takes place. In the meantime, Matt and I are going to work to continue the concept of that he initiated, the holism. Now it's a 50th year anniversary, and the promise that we have made to Dr. Shealy, regardless of anything else, is that his vision, his baby, his brainchild that came out over 50 years ago is going to continue. And not only continue, but get stronger and better. And that's why the coaching is here, because there's
Reach
only
more people, millions of people.
Yes, there's
everybody needs this information right now, more than ever before.
Thank you.
I mean, and that's where the coaching comes in, right?
Go ahead and jump in, please. We've been talking about coaching, so please.
Well, that's definitely where the coaching comes in, and that's where we as coaches here at Shealy-Sorin Wellness, coaches, doctor is a coach. Look, every professional athlete has a coach, right? Your favorite pro athlete, football star, basketball star, baseball stars. They got hitting coaches. They got shooting coaches. They got throwing and kicking coaches, right? They got multiple coaches, and then they got coaches for the coaches, right? So, having a coach is an incredible thing for accountability. You can be your own coach, right? You can hold your own self accountable. And it's so important. So some of the ways that, I wanted to share some of the ways that we can be, that Dr. Sorin can be a coach to you. Dr. Shealy can be a coach to you right now. He can be a coach to you. We can be a coach to you. We have some awesome free classes that we're going to be getting started in the Facebook group that we'll be giving people free access to completely. We're also going to have some paid workshops coming out as well. The workshops will be a little more intensive, a little longer than just the short classes. We're looking at starting some yoga, meditation, and breathing classes first. Those will come out completely free on the Facebook. And that's some ways that we can be your coach. Another way we can be your coach right now, right, is with our online courses. Our online courses are an incredible way to get yourself started with learning the material, being coached, okay, having a coach there to keep you accountable and tell you what to do. And then it's your job to hold it accountable and check in with yourself. So one of the things I really like to do is I've been on my kick of doing my gratitude journal, every single day, where I write down everything I'm grateful for. I write down things I want to manifest. I write down good things from the day, and then I write just down how I'm feeling and whatnot. And I've really made it a point in the last few months to go back and review every 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So there I am being my own coach and doing my own coaching there, where I'm holding myself accountable. Am I working on the goals and the things that I want to create and make happen? So, everybody, we're here to be your coach. We're here to coach you and help you on the mind, body, spirit path and increase your vitality, your wellness, your health.
And that's what it's all about. It's not about Matt. It's not about me. It is in a way, because, in Matt's world, that's his universe. In my world, I'll use my first name as just kind of separate the doctor and the self, because I'm not just a doctor. The doctor is what I do. The term doctor has gotten a completely different meaning from what it was meant to be. From the earlier times, a doctor is supposed to be a healer. For thousands of years, the physician was the person who would listen, understand, get to know the patient, and get them from point A to point B.
And they don't get to do that anymore.
They don't get,
what is it, like 6 minutes?
6 minutes.
You get 6 minutes with your physician, and
Yes.
you get the boot out the door.
And I'll just say this, Dr. Shealy, Norm, and I have discussed, in multiple ways in which the healthcare system and the current systems, all the systems in the world, really, all the systems, from the government all the way down, or all the organizations, and basically, I don't know a single system that basically is not compromised. I just don't. So if the systems are compromised, we have to really consider we cannot rely on the external forces. That means we have to have everything within. The good news, the great news, is that we have that already. It's just a question of bringing it out. It's a question of utilizing that. And once you know that you're okay, I'm enough, I'm loved, and I'm capable, and I can do things, and I'm going to follow through. But that's a process. So why do so many people not succeed, and whereas others manifest exactly what they need and what they want? And that is what we're talking about. Because let's say you do everything right. At 1 year's interval, you don't have to work anymore. You really don't. It becomes a part of you. In other words, if Matt does everything, for example, nutrition, activities, exercise, stress management, being aware of the environment, being aware of what works for him, what drives him crazy, in other words, what he needs to cut out of his life, mental, emotional, how many positive thoughts, how many negative thoughts, what is the patterns. It's all about patterns. If you can know thyself. I think, wasn't that Socrates at some point? Know thyself. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to double check. I try not to make statements that I'm not.
Check it after the radio.
Yeah, please. But know thyself. That's it. And regardless of who said that, and I'm sure it's been said multiple times through history. If you don't know who you are, if you don't understand who you are, then get an external perspective. Somebody who can see you for what you are, truly are. A coach. Somebody who can actually. Yeah, go ahead, please.
You said something profound to me the other night when we were having dinner. We were talking about some of the people that you've had the biggest effect in their lives. And, we were talking about how you're more of a coach to those people than you are just a doctor, because, they come every 2 weeks for an appointment with you. They follow through. You keep them on the track. When they start missing doing their biogenics, you say, hey, why didn't you do your biogenics now? What's going on in your life? And then you do the therapy. You do the opening up therapy with the electromagnetic field, and you put them into induction, and you get them to expel from their spirit and their mind, why are they not doing it now? And you help guide them back on that. So it was cool the other night when we were talking about the people that you've made the most change in their lives are the people who you've coached, who have come for appointments over a longer period of time. You're not going to just come for one appointment and we're going to snap our fingers and it's going to be all better. We do help a lot right in the first one, but having that coaching and that consistency is so important.
And there's a difference. I do have some people who show up once, and that's a case of an acute emergency. If if somebody has a choice of being in a hospital, but they don't want to go through all the hassle and so many rules, so many procedures, you don't even know if you can come in, your loved ones are going to get kicked out, so on and so forth. So if I've had people basically come in for acute medical visits, but I guarantee you, if you don't address the underlying cause, the underlying root, that led to the problem, it's going to be the same problem over and over again because of the same pattern. Same thing all over and over. Insanity. That's Einstein. All right, we're going to be back after the break, and stay with us on YouTube Live and Facebook Live.
Still on there.
Yep, still on there. All right.
So back to just, saying the other night over dinner, right? We were talking about how some of the most profound changes you've had in people's lives that you've created, that Dr. Shealy has created, are clients that you've coached. So ways that we're going to be opening up the door for more coaching is, we're going to bring on more coaches that have.
See if you maybe can get them close to the microphone. How's the sound? Good? Yeah. Right,
bring in more coaches that have specialties.
Yes.
Right now, we Coach Kasim, right?
Yes.
Awesome dude. I can't wait to bring him on.
He's a soul brother of mine.
Yeah, I can't wait. We can't wait to bring him on. But you guys will be meeting him. You may be seeing him posting in the Facebook group. but he is extremely well versed in mindful parenting. So we have some awesome stuff coming out about mindful parenting, but you'll also get the opportunity, if you want, to have one-on-one coaching sessions with him.
And then, of course, we have a wonderful young lady who's going to be helping us with nutrition, with fitness. And as a matter of fact, actually, I have her coaching me and my wife, as a matter of fact. And I'm down 5 pounds.
The coach has a coach.
The coach has a coach. Yes, and that's okay. That's all right, because again, even myself, I need accountability.
Yeah.
It's
so true. But so we plan on bringing in more coaches,
Yes.
only very refined people. Of course, the best of the best for Shealy-Sorin Wellness here, and making sure people have much more access to this accountability, these coaching. We also do have, executive coaching coming out here soon.
How much can we talk about that?
Not too much.
Okay.
We're keeping that under wraps for now,
Right.
Just because we're still putting the final touches on it.
Yeah.
But we're gonna have, like, for people who are really ready to take the bull by the horns, as we like to say, right? VIP coaching with Dr. Sorin, one-on-one. It's going to be pretty awesome. We will hold you accountable to make the changes, and mark my words there. Dr. Sorin will hold you accountable to make the changes to get the results that you want.
And that's what it's all about. If you start the journey, make sure you get to the place that you want to be, or better. I look forward to that. But it's not going to be just myself with the executive coaching. It's there's so many facets and angles. The way I like to look at the world and just all around is I'm one pixel in the large picture. Now, it may be a very important pixel, but there's others. Matt, for example. Without Matt, we have great content. We have over 55 decades, 50 years of incredible content and history with Dr. Shealy, the founder of holistic medicine, the 50th year anniversary. But if that content was not memorialized, if it wasn't put into the content of online courses, organization, and everything else, what good is it?
Right. We're working on redoing all the books as well, getting them all into reprint. We're going to memorialize absolutely everything. So the last 50 years of holistic health just is embodied and will never be lost, is the way I'll leave it. We never want to lose this information for the next 100, 200, 500 years. Our kids,
millennia,
need to have this information, because I'll tell you, they don't want you to have this information.
That's exactly it.
They don't.
Thank you for mentioning that. I just want to talk about, again, without going into any specific details or things that will get us into, hot waters with otherwise. Exactly. Thank you, Matt. What is the best way to control population? Fear. What is the best way to get rid of the fear? Knowledge, power, and love. And knowing that you're okay, you got everything you need, and if you need it, you got the resources so that, there's no need for fear. There's no need for wasteful energies. We don't have the luxury of fear. It's not necessary. There's action. There's a distinction. There's people who worry, and there are people who take action. I call it the difference between, and I'll say it the best way I can, and I know, again, my beautiful Russian accent here. There's warriors and there is warriors. And people who are warriors, in other words, people who take action, it doesn't mean they're any less scared or concerned, or it doesn't mean that they're under any less stress or responsibility. It's just that you realize that it's up to you to take charge. It's up to you to take responsibility and to utilize your resources. And you do it. You actually activate yourself and you become your best self and you learn. And this is interesting. Every challenge is really, it's not a punishment. It could be a punishment if you don't learn, but if you learn, it's an opportunity to do and be better. And that's what it's all about. Are we coming back in? Yes, sir.
ADI.
Now, back to Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Sergey Shealy-Sorin.
And, of course, the one and only Mr. Matt Adams Buckley, who is not only our lead coach, but also an integral member of the team. So let's continue our discussion. And this is the magic hour. Now we get to take phone calls on anything and everything. So the calling number is, if I'm not mistaken, 417-447-1777. Did I get it right?
You got it.
All right. 10 repetitions. I got it. All right. Feel free
Rob
to
will
call
help
us
with any questions on Facebook. So
Yes.
feel free to put the questions in the comments on Facebook and YouTube. They do come through. So, we'll continue on the. Go ahead, Doc.
Yep, I do want to make a special announcement just for a few minutes. So there, we appreciate and we like our friends, here in Springfield. And there's a couple of places that I want to mention. There is Spring Valley, a natural food place store. One of the amazing places, great service, and they have everything that we carry. In other words, your soul, your spirit, but you still have a physical body. And supplements and other resources are very, very important. So they carry all of our essentials: youth formula, magnesium lotion, all the bliss oils, basically everything that we like, and so much more. And the service is absolutely fantastic. So Spring Valley, fantastic, amazing little store with a lot of potential, and that's great. Now, actually, we get a phone call, and then we'll jump back in. Go ahead, please. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, I have some questions.
Yep. How are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm all ears. We're all ears. And Matt and myself we're whatever you have. Go ahead, please.
Perfect. I am a 50-year-old. I'm usually in good health.
Mm-hmm.
Fit physically.
Yep.
And I have recently purchased the Gamma Pump Halo.
Halo, the device, yeah.
Halo?
The PEMF device, wonderful, yes. Yeah. One of our favorites,
and
yeah.
I do. I love it too. But I do have a couple of questions on what I'm supposed to use it for.
Let's talk about it. I'd like to take this opportunity to, again, well, there's a whole big thing I'm gonna give you, but tell me exactly what your question is specifically.
Okay. I first heard Dr. Shealy talking on Julie Jancis' Angels and Awakening podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
And I like to meditate, but I don't know which, if I should use it on the Shealy sweep, the Gamma sweep, or the Delta sweep when I'm meditating.
Perfect. Let me actually go through all the three modes. And this is a wonderful question. It's one of our favorite devices. We started out, and I'll give you the evolution of the device, actually. Initially, it had one mode. It had a sweep energy mode. It just covered everything from 5.5 something hertz per second to 55. And that covers the entire range all the way from head to toes, and it recharges every single cell in the body, the trillions of units that make up who we are. If that's healthy, we're healthy, and vice versa. It's also good for everything. So if ever have a question or doubt or pain, or you want to just, you're not sure, the first mode is fantastic. The second mode is what you are after, which is the Gamma mode. Gamma is defined technically as 40 cycles per second hertz. And that's a place where people who meditate, if you find somebody who's been living in a cave for 30, 40 years, or maybe even 10 years, and they are basically just perfectly still, perfectly happy, perfectly optimized, nothing bothers them, and just complete in connection with their higher self, and they're in Gamma. So that's what you want to do. Minimum 2 hours. That's what the research showed. But whatever you put in, whatever time, and then for some times there are times when you need to calm the nervous system down, whether it's helping to relax into a good, easy, deep sleep, or even just relaxing those nerves, or decreasing pain stimuli from sciatica or otherwise. It's put it on location, and then stay there. So that's the third mode. And we're still discovering new things about the device, but what you want to do is focus on the second, which is the Gamma mode.
I'll drop a link later that has this with a beautiful, basically a walkthrough Dr. Sorin we videoed, and then it has a beautiful picture that explains the modes as well. But yeah, mode 2.
Perfect.
Okay. So I don't just use it for the meditation, but that will be nice to know. Does it mean I need to use it for 2 hours before I meditate, or use it while I'm meditating?
While and before, and if you want, after. There is not a timeline that has been established to be. In other words, let me rephrase it. According to the research, we know that 2 hours works. and it has now, does it mean that 30 minutes is not going to work? Actually, I put it on for 20 minutes when I have the time, and I feel great. I've used it for up to 24 hours, actually, at one point when I was recovering from my situations with a car accident and everything else. So it's basically what you need. But if I can tell you that there is clinical information and research that supports 2 hours minimum. But if we did the research for 1 hour, I'm pretty sure we would come up with some positive results too. We just don't have the data.
Well, when he was talking on the podcast, he had mentioned that he used it to write several books.
Yes, and yes.
So is he turning that on the gamma sleep when he's
whenever Dr. Shealy wants to get creative, whenever I want to get creative, and Matt, gamma throughout the experience. That's it. Or anybody with a writer's block, same thing. Absolutely.
Very good. I will just say that the Delta sleep, it does relax me and gets me ready for sleep.
Wonderful.
So if I leave it on all night, my feet and my joints hurt.
Okay.
So I don't do that anymore, but I do sleep with it on the Shealy sleep.
Wonderful.
So that it goes through all of my chakras.
Correct.
And I wake up feeling so good.
Wonderful.
So I do want to.
I love hearing this.
I appreciate you.
Awesome.
This is great. I love success stories. You're a success story. I mean, that's. Thank you.
Well, now I have a couple more questions.
Yes,
for you.
Please. Let's keep them going.
These are about the eugesterone and
Eugesterone. Yep.
And the magnesium. Lotion.
Yep.
I was thinking that I had heard that those two raised my DHA and would help with some of my belly fat.
The answer is absolutely yes. And so let me repeat the question. And DHEA, the most quintessential health hormone in the world. And actually, we have a booklet on DHEA, as a matter of fact. Matt, you think you'll be able to pull it up in the comment section in YouTube and Facebook?
When we're done, I can drop all the links. Yes. Do you have a copy of the DHEA book?
No.
Okay, we'll get you a link to download it. No, not a problem.
So
but when I'm off the radio, of course.
Perfect. DHEA, what is it? And a lot of some people know what it is, but let me just make sure that we get everybody on the same page. DHEA is a wellness hormone that is produced in the adrenal area, or the kidney, basically, and it literally serves a purpose of balancing and bringing down the sympathetic or fight or flight reflex. So, if I were to say from what I see and the pattern that I'm seeing is, we have been driven almost to extinction as a human species, and I'll make that strong statement, by all the stress and everything else that's happening in life. And stress is behind everything. Dr. Selye, back in the 30s and 40s, and even before that, Jen Smith in early 1900s, there's been multiple demonstrations that stress is literally behind 95% of everything. And one of the ways to control the stress is to optimize your DHEA level. Anybody with a chronic stress or chronic illness has taken a hit on that, basically. And as the time goes by, the age goes by, it gets even harder in that area. So, but it doesn't mean you can't maintain it. Dr. Shealy, even in his 80s and moving on, his DHEA levels are fantastic, and he's an elder, so to speak. So it's a question of what you do and how you work with it. 4 things raise DHEA naturally without taking it. And that's magnesium lotion, eugesterone or progesterone cream, basically, and that's the equivalent of 30 milligrams of progesterone. Basically, it's wonderful. If you are if you're a woman, post-menopause, you can just use it all, daily, 1 puff. If you're a woman and you're still having your period, then don't use it during the period itself, but you can use it other times. And if you're a man, especially over 40, it's highly recommended. And then there's 2 other things that raise DHEA, which is basically Youth and Essentials, and something called Fire Bliss, which is a mix of essential oils. combined with a carrier oil, and that it's a proprietary mix. I made Dr. Shealy a promise not to discuss what's in there because so many people have tried to steal the formula, so to speak.
I don't even know.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, I don't even know because I don't even want to know. But the bottom line is that I kind of know, but that's the. And then there is the applied to the 12 acupuncture points, and then that also supports the hormone system as well in itself, but raises DHEA by also 60%. So altogether, those four, each by 60%, combination over 250% raise in DHEA, and we all need that. Thank you. Now, your wonderful questions. You have you had something else, I think, as well. Please.
Well, it was. I don't actually have to take your DHEA vitamin to raise my DHEA. Is that true?
You can. The goal is, and the Dr. Shealy has a way of saying it: make it, don't take it.
We don't have a DHEA vitamin.
Actually, well, I think the store used to carry it.
I'm not sure. Do.
Yeah, you don't have. That's right. You don't have to take it. You can make it.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Okay.
And these four things. And the beautiful thing about making it instead of taking it is that if you take it, then there's maybe excess. It's hormones. Again, I don't mind working with hormones. It's one of my favorite things, especially if you keep an eye on it and you monitor carefully. But I'm not a fan of just throwing hormone treatments and therapies. Whereas if you can do it on your own, the power should be within you. If you can,
Well, I think it's working. I've only been taking it about 8 days, and I was wondering how long it was going to take to notice anything.
Yeah.
But I'm not retaining fluid, and my joints don't hurt, and I'm just shocked by it. I didn't understand why it would be helping me so much, but I think it is. And I have rheumatoid arthritis in my family, and I just refuse to give in to it.
Wonderful, and that's 100%. I can see why this regimen would work for you. 8 days is not typical for such a positive effect, but I've seen it happen before. You're incredible. That's great.
I had influenza at the end of December, and so I was on prednisone, unfortunately, for my lungs, and. So I'd been off that for about a week and started using this, and the 10 pounds of fluid or whatever that I had gained from that stupid prednisone, it came off, and it's still working.
Yes, ma'am.
My only complaint is that my arms and my legs, when I put the lotion on, or where I put the lotion on, my skin is kind of, do you know the word crepe? It's crepey.
Gritty?
Where it looks dry.
That's not typical, but certainly possible. The other thing I'm thinking is if you had a flu-like illness, there's possible that there's inflammation going on, and inflammation can occur especially where you're most vulnerable. So in your case, it probably would be the joints or musculoskeletal system. So that's, I think, is why you're having that probably. I do want to say that if you do take prednisone, you should take, that's the only time, or any kind of steroid, that is the only time that I would recommend taking DHEA as a supplement in the same amount as the prednisone. But after you're done with that, you don't continue on that. You make your own. So let's say you take 40 milligrams of prednisone, you want to take 40 milligrams of DHEA. Let's say you taper it down to 20 milligrams, then you want to take 20 milligrams of DHEA. So that's basically what, the concept there.
So I probably should order that DHEA, huh?
It's not a bad thing to have on board, but it's not something that people have to take if they can make it. Yes.
Okay. Will I need to use this magnesium lotion at the same dose forever?
Magnesium lotion, typically the way I judge it, it's, you take a handful and you put it on the areas that are hurting you specifically. Now, stay away from the eyes. It's not the worst thing in the world, but Well, it's magnesium. It's elemental element. So I mean, it can burn a little. It doesn't do any damage, but you don't have to have that experience. Or wash your
Okay.
hands, I should say, when if you're gonna touch your eyes. But you can put it anywhere, really. So basically, literally a handful, and that's. And then there's also the spray for people who are not, and who prefer the consistency of a little bit less sticky. Um, but yeah,
Okay.
magnesium is one of the keys because, well, you just mentioned something wonderful. Magnesium is one of the key deficiencies in the soil. We don't have it in the food. Farmers, or people who raise animals, they know that. They give magnesium to the animals, but what happened to the humans? We're not as important, or misinformation. So again, and that's part of the coaching. And that's we're talking about coaching. If you know what the resources are, if you know where to go, if you know what to do, and these are some of the physical things, simple physical things that we can advise people. And yeah,
You have time for one more question?
sure do, ma'am.
Do you know anything about Down syndrome and DHEA?
Down syndrome and DHEA. From my understanding, the DHEA correlates inversely with, in other words, people with Down syndrome tend to have a little bit less DHEA from what I've seen. Again, it's so this is where the support comes in. So the other thing with the Down syndrome is that you got to watch for a number of congenital, or in other words, a genetic type of issues, and not to forget that there's something called epigenetics. I hope I'm addressing your question, but the epigenetics means that just because somebody has certain genes or certain aspect, it doesn't mean you're going to follow in your father's or your mother's footsteps or your grandmother's or so on and so forth. It just means that literally you have a choice. You know that you're at risk, or there is more likelihood something is going to happen. So that's where people have to take full responsibility and accountability for what they do, how they think. The brain bucket here, how you think, is more important than anything else. That sets a pattern for the rest of the physical. But I'm sorry. What your specific question on the Downs, please? The Down syndrome.
Well, my daughter has it, and I just remember that when she was a baby, that I thought we gave her vitamins with DHEA in them.
Oh.
And then eventually, didn't our baby formulas start having DHEA in them? Whereas, like in Germany, they've always had DHEA in formula.
Yeah, that's I'm not as familiar with that, but that's curious. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe for another day.
Maybe for another day. But you know what? When I don't know something and I'm the first to say it, I'm gonna look it up. Now you got my interest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for your information. I really appreciate it.
Blessings. And thank you. And I do want to say, if medicine, any field really, is filled with egos. And part of the coaching, part of being a coach, if I don't have the answer for somebody, or if I'm not the best person to answer, that's why we have all these resources. That's why we have Matt, who specializes in the things that he's strong in. We have people who are specialized in various components and aspects. And that's why it's important to have a well-rounded team so that you have all the resources that you need. And that's the whole point behind holism, is that another important distinction, and what I want to say, actually, just to clarify, if there's ever a misconception, we talk about conventional healthcare system, we talk about holistic. Holistic literally means everything. So when appropriate, it's medical. When appropriate, it's acute medical. It can be surgery. It can be any kind of treatment. I'm going to have a doctor actually doctors actually come on with me so we can talk about both sides of it, and we'll have further shows like that. But we have a call, right? Hello. Hi.
I just had a question for you. I was listening to a show a while back of Dr. Shealy mentioned about castor oil for cataracts. And I just wanted to know if, how much you would use, how long you would use it, that sort of protocol.
Yes, ma'am. Castor oil is one of the best things, best compounds out there. General use of castor oil is you put it on the body. There's different ways to do this. You can go into a sauna, wash off, and then you can do something called a castor oil suit, which is, in other words, pick a sweatsuit, something you're not going to use for going out further, because trust me, it'll get ruined. So you use something that's an older material, and basically just get castor oil from the neck down to the feet, and then put on the suit. Now, there's a chance you can get the bed sheets, involved, but so. Be careful in terms of what's exposed, but it's one of the best detoxifiers. Well, it detoxifies the lymph nodes and the lymphatic system. But for the eyes, there's a special type of castor oil, and it's called USP, United States Pharmacopoeia, and it's a little bottle. 1 to 2 drops up to several times a day, and by 3 to 6 months you should be able to see some difference. At least it's going to prevent further progression, and we've seen a lot of regression. Actually, there's been some regression in cataracts in animals too, as a matter of fact. So it's not just unique. I'm starting to put it on in one of my dogs. It's Mr. Romeo is he's sort of older, blind, deaf, everything, so he needs all the help he can get.
Yeah. Well, I just put 1 drop before I go to bed in each eye, and I just wondered how long I'd have to do it for. So you say about 3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months, and then if that's not enough to make a difference, or then we can talk about other things.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for your help.
Pleasure. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have just a couple of minutes to close up, and then we can continue and talk a little bit more after the show. And I think, Matt, what do you think? Just we can take all the questions on and the comments, and then we can, on the YouTube and Facebook, and then we'll talk afterwards. But I do want to say, if you're not with us on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, if you're not seeing the great content that happens in between the 2 radio shows, you're missing out. Matt, you want to talk about that? How do people sign up for Facebook Live, YouTube Live if they're not on there? Yeah, can we get a resource page or resource information?
Yeah, well, you can go directly to our website, realholisticdoc.com. We do have a place where you can enter your email to, of course, receive our emails. And I actually, that reminds me about the coaching and the information. One of the kind callers said, the blessings for such great information. And right now, we're actually, hopefully within a week, we're going to roll out making it extremely easy to get started with mind, body, spirit. So right on the home page of the website, you're going to see a brand new button, and it'll say something like "Get Started Now," and it'll take you to a page. We're putting the final touches on it, and that page is going to give you our core recommendations. Very easy to follow: mind, body, spirit. What you can start doing every day to accomplish those 3 as the core Shealy-Sorin Wellness recommendation. Tons of free literature will be there as well. Some awesome stuff. So once we get that finished, hopefully next week, by the end of the week, we'll make sure maybe on next Wednesday, we'll let everybody know that that's finished so you guys can all go check it out and enjoy the content.
And thank you for checking in. Next week is going to be another radio show. Very important. Every time we have a different topic, we cover the whole variety. And actually, next week is going to be really interesting. I'm going to have an oncology doctor, a really amazing guy who really cares about his patients. And we've talked about cancer and conventional versus non-conventional, but I want to say that there is a place and an opportunity and the need for knowledgeable, amazing people such as Dr. Leo, who's going to come on the radio show, if possible, next Wednesday. And we're going to talk about cancer from a holistic, but also from conventional approach. And it's not just all about, for example, chemo and radiation. The true goal is to truly bridge the conventional and non-conventional, and that's holism. And we're going to stay on for after the segment, and we'll continue taking questions, and we'll go for as long as we need. Yeah. All right. Are we technically done?
We're off the radio show.
We're off the radio show, but we're still on.
Yeah, we're off the radio show. We're still on the live.
All right.
Matt, anything else you want to say before to close up the conversation or topic? Anything that people need to know?
Well, yeah. Just final thing for today's main topic of the radio. You need a coach. We're your coaches. We're here for you. We're here for everyone. We're going to make it extremely easy to get started. We're going to make it extremely easy to hold you accountable. That's it. It's the end of my info for today, baby.
And I want to say thank you to Mr. Matt Buckley here, because this young man has created something absolutely amazing. I want you to visualize the process. When I joined Dr. Shealy, Now, Dr. Shealy started this entire revolution of holism back 5 decades ago. So that we're celebrating this year, we're celebrating literally 50th year anniversary of holism. But the state of affairs in terms of material, I still remember when I came in, there were tapes. People don't know where to put tapes anymore. There's no equipment now for tapes. So we had to convert everything from tapes to CDs. And now we're doing the downloads. So there's so much technological advance that happens now. I'm not a huge fan of technocracy. In other words, and I know there are people who are basically on their phones and just not even in touch with reality. And there's all sorts of garbage and crap coming through all sorts of media, but there is a place and a time for using technology. It's not all bad. And Mr. Matt Buckley is just, well, Adams Buckley has done a tremendous job organizing all of that for us, helping me put it together, because guess what? In our digital crazy world that's evolving at the speed of light, we got to keep up. And this is the man who is making it happen. So thank you.
Yeah, man, here to do it.
Yeah.
It's an honor.
So, do we want to take some questions?
Sure.
Or comments, anything? Yeah.
Yep. A lot of people just sending good wishes to Dr. Shealy, hoping for his recovery. So a lot of people commented on that. We do have a question. This one is coming from Jean. She was asking, what supplements are good for preventing dementia and Alzheimer's?
Brain support, preventing dementia and Alzheimer's. Okay, let's talk about it. Now, I'm going to contrast the conventional answer with a holistic answer here. Conventional answer, there are medications, there's drugs that you can take, and that's terrible. It's terrible. There's side effects. Poison.
Just add more poison to the mix.
That's right. And all it does is actually it slows down, according to the research, according to what they're saying, it slows down the progression. How do you work with the brain? And I want to approach it not from a point of pathology or what's wrong. I want to approach it from a truly prevention, wellness. And this is the same concept as holism, holistic medicine. Same concept. The formula is real simple. Actually, I'm going to outline it right now. If you want to stay healthy, not just your brain, every single organ. Same thing. Simple. Foundation. But we're going to talk about physical, lifestyle. Nutrition, what you put in your body matters. You put in crap happens. You put in good things happen. Activity, exercise. If the body doesn't move, guess what? You lose the function. Same thing with the brain. If you don't use your brain, if you especially people who retire or people who stop doing their favorite activities, the rate of dementia and brain decline, cognitive decline, is accelerated tremendously. So if you love something, if you do something, whether you do it for a living or whether you do it for fun, make sure you got something to keep your brain going. That's the number one factor. Let's talk about some simple things in the lifestyle. Are you happy? Are you a happy person? If you're a happy person, if you're positive, chances of having brain problems, much, much less. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but much less. Association between depression, anxiety, and mental stress and other kinds of stress, absolutely undeniable. So if you don't have a good stress management technique, make sure you practice something that works. Now, we have a system. It's called Autogenic Training, 6 basic phrases. My arms and legs are heavy and warm. That's your parasympathetic activation. My heartbeat is calm and regular. Again, you're checking in. What is your heartbeat doing? Is it? Are you in a place that you're in physical danger? If so, do whatever you need to do to be safe. If you're not in physical danger, guess what? Slow that heart rate down. My heart rate is calm and regular. You don't need that extra stress. It's unnecessary. My breathing is free and easy. Again, biofeedback. My abdomen is warm. Greatest chemical factory in the world. My forehead is cool. The world around me can be going crazy. And in 2022, we're going to be seeing that if we haven't already. So get ready. I'm okay. I'm the captain of my ship. My mind, my ever-conscious mind, the greatest instrument in the world, is quiet and still. I am okay. I'm going to ask you a question. If you're watching and listening here, how many people understand and know and experienced a place where the mind is quiet and still, where you're completely peaceful, where you're in control of your universe, where you're aware of stuff coming in and out, you can react, respond, but on your terms, not as a knee-jerk response? How many people are truly in control of their lives? That's an interesting question. And then there's biogenics, which is a self-retraining, stress management, but also resetting all the patterns of the from the brain bucket and the nervous system, but not just that, resetting the autonomic nervous system, how we deal with stress, how easy we can recover. Because acute stress is essential. If a car is coming at me, I need to get out of the way. That rapid heart rate is useful, it's helpful. And that's called acute stress. But when it comes to chronic stress, and I can go back to the study and research by Dr. Sellier, 30s and 40s and even further, 95% of all the issues, uncontrolled stress. But stress can also be physical and emotional. It could be the fluorescent lights above us and so many things. The concept is you control and you work with what's under your control, and you let go, you detach. Don't detach from life, detach from things that are not necessary for your well-being and things that don't belong to you. And that's part of the coaching. Because sometimes we don't even know who we are. We've been so trained and we've been so brainwashed by society, culture, and it includes families, it includes even friends, our school system, the education system. Like we could talk about that for a while. Actually, I would love to have Kasim join us, join the show and talk about families, raising kids.
Yeah, we're going to get him on in the next couple weeks here.
I would love that.
He'll be on through video, but we're going to get him on. He's mindfulness parenting, awesome. And we will be having a bunch of trainings coming out for that too. Very important about what you're saying. Did you do your spirit work today? Did you do your mind work today? Did you do your body work today? Mm-hmm. Are you holding yourself accountable?
That's exactly it. And if you're seeing the results you want to see, you need to see that if you're being your best, authentic, optimal self, good, great, fantastic. Whatever system you use. If you haven't, do what works. Over 36,000 successful outcomes. And I'm not saying this is the only system. There's so many paths up the mountain. But we know that this is good.
That's key. That is key to explain. It's not the only system.
It's not the only system.
It's a proven system.
It's a proven system.
And we don't talk about anything unless it's proven.
No research, no data. But it's interesting. When it comes to spirit, when it comes to soul, people, I get this question a lot. What research do you have behind the soul, the spirit, the holism? Well, there's a lot of information actually that's available, and people don't even know it. Google Scholar, otherwise, people have done this. They have done the work. You cannot see it because the system is guarding it. They don't want you to know about it, but we want you to know about it so that you can have the power and control, and you can be in charge of you if you choose. And of course, if you choose to let something else or somebody else be in charge of you, well, that's a choice too. That's okay. It's not my choice, but it's a choice. Anything else you want to jump in on this?
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yep. Anything else? Statements?
I think we're good.
So I'd like to finish with a couple of closing thoughts. Coaching. If you have a doctor, if you have whoever you work with, whoever's helping you, if they're not on your team, if you're not getting the results that you need, if you're not communicating successfully, properly, if your voice is not being heard, make sure that make sure that you work with somebody who is going to focus on you. Because it's not about me. It's not about Matt. Well, it is for Matt and it is for me personally, but it's about you. And for you to live your best life, that's the most important thing. Nobody else is going to do it for you. And we're here to help. And by the way, please, again, we mentioned this earlier, but feel free to send into the universe, your wishes, your prayers for Dr. Shealy's well-being, recovery. He is under a tough set of circumstances right now. He's doing the best he can, but we all need to, contribute our energy and forces, and it's incredible, powerful energy that each of us has in the universe. And the prayers are more powerful than we realize. Every thought, as a matter of fact, is a prayer. So please send your thoughts, prayers, and best wishes for his recovery. And if you want to join our team, the holism, the holistic approach for yourself, join us. Now, this is a movement that Dr. Shealy originated 5 decades ago here in the country, reawakening. And it's our mission, my mission, Matt's mission, to make sure that vision continues. And if you want to join us, and if you want to become the best version of yourself, that's what it's all about. That's why we exist. And that's all I got to say for now.
Blessings.
Blessings.